All right, back at it, and boy, good weekend, great calls. And again, if you'd like to check the iHeart app out, you can pick up our podcast on April being Healthy Home Awareness Month. And there's a wonderful interview with Erica Lacroix talking about the need for air exchange in a lot of our homes as they become tighter and pollutants get trapped in our homes. And EPA talking about our homes being 5 to 10 times more polluted than outdoor air. It's a big wave in building and construction, so check that out. Right now we have Ken Clark. He is our man on the streets, if you will. He is with Home and Building Supply Magazine and has been to a couple of conventions and shows checking out products and then some business news about the industry as a whole. Ken, welcome again to At Home with Gary Sullivan. How you doing?
Thank you so much, Gary. Good to be here. I'm Ken Clark, and shout out to all our team at Hardware and Building Supply Dealer Magazine. And I was listening to your promotion for the rescue ant trap, and as I look to my right here, out my window in New Jersey, I see a long line of ants making their way up to one of my plants that we have in our bay window.
Are the big black ants?
I haven't had time to investigate, but from this distance, they look very tiny. I'm going to have to deal with this later. Get some of those.
Well, good tip here is all ants are their meaningful life is to find water and food, and if you follow that path, they will take you to exactly where they habitat. Whether it's going up a tree and living in a rotted branch, or marching right into your house. So when you said I haven't really had a chance to observe, that's the key part of control is observe and find where they're coming from and where they're going, and then you can take action from there. So I wanted to help you out, Ken.
I appreciate it. I'm watching them now. And coincidentally, Rescue, one of our most popular videos we've ever published on Hardware and Building Supply Dealer was a rescue fly trap that captured must have been 1,000 flies in a matter of a couple of days. It was a very impressive.
Was that the pad? Is that the pad?
No, it was a liquid. It was a liquid that included an attractant. That I have to say, it didn't smell very good at all. I had to move it away. My wife made me move it away from the house. But
they got a new one out this year. It's called a fly pad. And
right.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool, too. You don't get all the gumminess on your hands at all because there's ridges on that pad. And you can put it inside, outside, upside down, on a wall, on a counter. I mean, and same experience. Whatever is in that, it draws flies. And that's the key, right?
And I think for that company, particularly Rescue, their message is part of the sustainability, environmentally friendly. They're not using poisons.
Right.
They're just trying to use natural ways. And that's a big story across the industry. What we've seen, it shows sustainability was a big part of our coverage of our most recent issue.
Mm-hmm.
We products that are winning awards for environmental friendliness, as well as a big part of sustainability is energy efficiency.
Right.
I was listening to your program, LED lights you mentioned earlier this week. They last longer. They have a small environmental footprint, and they save a lot on energy.
Yeah, one of the things we talk about a lot, Ken, and I don't know if you ever used the product, it's JAWS, JAWS cleaners. And this corporation, I mean, they sell their products all over Europe and in a lot of countries that are a little further ahead than us in terms of environment and user-friendly. And it used to be, I mean, you're old enough to remember, too, when all these products first came in, they were never really any good. And now these products are actually, I think, in many, many, many cases, better than what they're replacing. But this is sustainability to the core in a bottle of cleaner, say just glass cleaner. First of all, it's a tremendous product. But the bottle it can be reused. So when it's empty, you fill it up with water, and they have these cartridges about the size of a nickel, a roll of nickels, that fits in a spout. You put the sprayer through it, and that bottle can be used like 30 times. So in terms of shipping the product, obviously these nickel-sized cartridges are bigger than or smaller than a bottle of cleaner. The cleaner bottle doesn't go to waste. It can be reused and kept out of the landfill. And they're pH balanced products and no off gassing. I mean, you're so right. That is a trend of the whole industry.
One of the recent product winners from a show that we cover out in Germany. I didn't get to go to Germany this year, but we covered it remotely. An environmental friendly canister for actually a cardboard cartridge for caulk. So instead of a plastic cartridge for your caulk, it's cardboard and much easier to deal with after it's used. And that was one of the winners at the
That sounds like an old, what is the old cliche? What comes around, goes around, or what goes around comes around. Because when I first got in the hardware industry, and I'm not going to tell you how many years ago it was, but I remember the old DAP Rely caulking, which was the least expensive caulking on the market. That came in a cardboard tube.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I did not know that. I'll have to make a note. I'm going to hear my article.
Yeah.
I was listening with great interest to McCabe Lumber's presentation earlier. Your discussion with McCabe Lumber and all their decking sale. Their deck
they have their Deck Expo with all the different vendors, and boy, how decking has changed in the last 10 years.
The last couple of years, I don't remember if your guest mentioned the environmental. He was fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
We got to get him on our McCabe Lumber. I don't remember him mentioning environmentally as a selling point, the environmental advantages of one brand over another. I think that used to be an interesting topic a couple of years ago for the composites to come out and say, hey, we don't cut down any trees for our decking boards, and as opposed to real wood. But I've always kind of suspected that was a little bit of a stretch, because what environment really needs is a tree to grow. Right. And trees growing from a little plant to a giant tree that's what's best for the environment. And sustainable forestry practices have taken root in this country anyway.
Well, I think, for every tree they cut down, I think they plant two, and many. I mean, like Louisiana Pacific and a lot of those foresters, they need, the trees are a crop, right? I mean, they need the trees to produce the product. And, so why not plant two? And so many of them do that. And quite honestly, the composite decking, even the capped composite decking, it's still got wood flour in it. It's just capped with a PVC product, which is an oil-based product. So, I don't really know if it's more environmentally sound than a regular pressure-treated wood. I don't know the answer to that.
The other big question is, to what extent will the consumer pay extra for a sustainable or environmentally friendly product? Everybody wants to be green. They want to help the environment, but will they pay extra?
Right.
And oftentimes that depends on the economy. It depends on the market.
It sure does. And I think also maybe the age of the consumer. I think a younger generation is more apt to say, I will pay more for a sustainable product, and maybe an older demographic is less likely to do that. I don't know. Again, don't have the data. Don't know if that's true. That's just a gut feeling.
Speaking of paying more for products, we mentioned a couple of weeks ago when I was talking on this show about SawStop, the table saw that knows if your finger is about to get cut by the blade. I think the New York Times must be listening to your program, Gary, because they had a big article about how the Consumer Product Safety Commission is now potentially going to mandate that kind of technology in all table saws.
Sure.
And that's playing out currently right now. But the upshot of that will be, if that mandate takes place, those table saws will have to be, the price will jump up at least $300, $400, maybe more.
Is that right?
For a table saw.
For that particular stuff. Well, what I always say, it's a nice feature. We never really want to be told that we need that nice feature, but You know, if you're about to get your fingers whacked off, I think you'd be happy you spent the $300.
You think you would?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm opposed to mandates in general. I think let the market decide what product works, let the consumers decide what's valuable to them. But there are cases, especially if they affect children. Lead paint is a great example.
Sure.
Certainly want to regulate and protect people from lead paint.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think there's a lot of discussion right now on mandates for hybrid water heaters on electric to make them get to a point of much more efficiency and getting to a point where it's been proposed those mandates on that. I don't know if you've read anything on that. I don't think it's passed anything, but it's probably 3 or 4 years out. But look they've got hybrid electric heaters today. If I want one, it's going to operate less expensive. It's going to be more energy efficient. But if I don't want one, I don't want one. It's going to cost me more money.
I think the biggest case of a regulation affecting the home improvement is the light bulb. I'm sitting here very close to the Edison Monument in tribute to Thomas Edison himself, who invented the incandescent light bulb, and that's been phased out. But people complain because they love the way that little glowing.
Mm-hmm. Think what your electric bill would be today if we didn't have LED bulbs. I mean, it's made an impact at my home. I have a lot of can lights that all had incandescent floodlights in when I built the house. And when I got my first energy bill, I went, holy cow, we can't have all these lights on. And now, you know, with the LED, it's just so economical to operate lighting, and it's spurned a whole industry on Christmas lighting and different types of configurations of lighting. I mean, it's kind of revolutionized the whole lighting industry.
It has. And another point that you mentioned right at the beginning of this conversation was indoor air quality. And that's an issue now with the gas stoves versus the electric stoves. There's movement to somehow banish or not. That's probably over. I should be careful what I say. There's moved to encourage the use of electric over gas. A lot of cooks, a lot of folks. I enjoy the gas. You turn it on, it's right there. It's hot immediately.
Sure.
As opposed to waiting for the little red disc to heat up.
Right.
So there's debate in that area as well. The problem with the gas is people accuse it of creating poor indoor air quality.
Yeah, and we just had a caller call from Oregon who had some expertise in that field, and he was just listening to the show, and I was talking about whole house air exchanging and different things, and he was talking about with gas appliances, sometimes there is a need for air exchanging and how it affects it, and an air supply and oxygen supply. But it's like everything else. There's ways to vent gas stoves. A lot of people think you can't vent them. You can. And that's why I think a lot of our things like water heaters, we used to change out water heaters. Anybody could change out a water heater. Now they're a little more complicated, more self-enclosed, usually an experts installing those. And because there's there's we don't have to ban everything. We just have to do it right.
To do it right, yeah. And there's also questions to can the electrical grids across the country support a switch in every household in America to an electric appliance like that?
Right. For sure. Well, Ken, I'll tell you what, bud, we're out of time. I really appreciate it. Let's try and chat next week. Sounds like we got a lot to talk about.
I always enjoy talking to you, Gary. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, my friend. Take care. Bye-bye. Ken Clark, he is a guest we occasionally have, pretty regularly, actually, on our Sunday show. All right, let me open up the phone lines. Once again, it's 800-823-8255. Grab a line. You're at home with Gary Sullivan.